Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast is new. Our podcast is bold, and truth is our guiding principle. But political correctness is out the door. We will tell it like it is. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in our studio my co-hosts, two very talented and intelligent gentlemen, Mr. Russell Cato and Mr. Jamie Wilson III. Today, we're going to tackle the subject of our rogue police officers and their abuses. I'm going to read an article that I wrote, and afterwards, my co-host and I will engage in a very lively discussion about the article. Here's the article. The title: Rogue Police Officers Haven't Learned a Damn Thing Since George Floyd's Murder. The article. You would think that the worldwide protest and the huge spotlight focused on police officers after the murder of George Floyd would have caused a decrease in the abusive behavior of police officers. You would think that the arrest and conviction of the rogue police officer, Derek Chauvin, would have caused police officers to think twice before abusing innocent citizens. Two, you would think that some of the many police reform measures implemented in the wake of the Floyd murder would have had a chilling effect on police violence. However, it surely seems that none of this is true. The numbers of murders, beatings, and other abuses appear to be on an upswing. In Columbus, Ohio, a police officer's body camera captured clearly a 20-year-old man being killed while in bed. The victim, Donovan Lewis, was shot immediately after the officer opened the door. There was no order to drop what's in your hand or put your hands up or get down on your stomach, or anything of that nature. All we have is a 30-year veteran with a happy trigger finger needlessly killing yet another Black man. Approximately 1 week before the killing of Donovan Lewis, a gentleman in Crawford County, Arkansas, was seen being seriously victimized by 3 law enforcement officers. A bystander's cell phone camera caught one officer repeatedly punching Randall Worcester in the head and slamming his head on the pavement as he was pinned to the ground. A second officer was seen violently kneeing Mr. Worcester in the body during the encounter. The third officer was seen holding the victim on the ground while his comrades punched and kneed the man. Once the officer took note that they were being filmed, their ire, their anger turned to the young lady with the cell phone and ordered her to get in her car using profanity. Hopefully, their careers as peace officers are over. Also, they should be arrested and tried for excessive abuse of a citizen and violation of this man's civil rights. Unfortunately, even if these officers are arrested, convicted, and given lengthy prison sentences, the abuses will continue unabated. In March 2022, writer Peter Levine published an article for U.S. Policing. The article's title was or is "No Progress Since George Floyd. U.S. police killing 3 people a day." One very sobering paragraph from this article reads, quote, "Law enforcement in the United States have killed 249 people this year as of March 24, 2022, averaging about 3 deaths a day and mirroring the deadly force trends of recent years, according to Mapping Police Violence, a nonprofit research group. The data experts say, suggest in the nearly 2 years since George Floyd's murder, the United States has made little progress in preventing deaths at the hands of law enforcement, and that the 2020 promises of systemic reforms have fallen short. Mr. Levine's article in general, and the paragraph above specifically, should have us all scratching our heads and wondering, what in the hell can we do about this mess? Mapping Police Violence has updated its numbers to suggest that since George Floyd's death in May 2020, 1,646 people have been killed by police. Again, averaging 3 deaths a day. In my humble opinion, these disturbing trends will not subside until Congress drafts a law to eliminate qualified immunity, which is a legal doctrine that limits legal remedies for victims of police violence or misconduct. According to Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, quote, "Qualified immunity creates an absolute shield against accountability for police officers accused of using excessive force. Eliminating qualified immunity is the most promising initiative to curtail the staggering police brutality numbers. I really believe this." Thank you. So at this point, my co-host and I will discuss the article. And hopefully we can offer some suggestions as to how to get this mess under control. Oh, no. Jamie?
Well, as we know, as far as Black men, 1 in every 1,000 can be expected to be killed by the police. That's normally the age group. It's like 20 to 35, according to academia. It's, again, it goes back to it being systematic. I mean, this goes back to colonizing and all that other stuff, but there are a lot of the races, that small percentage of racist white people in these positions of power. And they send, these people are sent, probably not intentionally, but these people end up in minority neighborhoods where it's like the jungle. They can run wild because there's a lot of Black people may fuss and go off, but they don't. If they call and complain, it's considered just they don't like the police, and they're not unless someone's dead or shot. it's a lot of inequities that go on in our area, and it affects the psyche. I mean, even driving while Black, it affects your health. It affects the neighborhood. I mean, there's a lot of things they need to do to fix this, but cell phones and all that stuff is great. And then I'm frustrated. This issue here really frustrates me. It's not, you want to march, damn march. I mean, yeah, it's good. I guess you're getting the message out. Social media helps too, but this has to stop. And I'm speaking to our Black cops. When and when these racist cops, not the decent people, because there are decent people of all races. They're very good, friendly white cops. I'm saying that small percentage of racist cops. You Black cops need to speak up. All that blue line, because when somebody get pissed off and had enough and start calling these guys up to come out and start opening fire on you, you're gonna be in that car. You're gonna be innocent of this nonsense, but you're not speaking up. You're not getting internal affairs involved. You guys need to speak up. It is our area, minority areas that's getting the brunt of this. It's a lot of racism. It is, and we're marginalized. They see us as animals. So you better speak up to protect yourself, because it's going to come a time when things are going to change. And you guys are the minority. We're the majority. Keep that in mind.
All right, good. What you got, Russ?
Well, I like what Jamie said, but we really got to go back and look at some of the words that you've been using on this show for a long time. And this thing is systematic racism. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. If you go back into the slave trades, the Jim Crowism, the same type of mechanism, the same type of things that the cops were doing then, they're doing it now. It hasn't changed, Ray. It hasn't changed. You know what? I listened to you the other day, and sometimes I hope we can get in a dispute with DeSantis, have him right here with us sometime. I really do. Because here's the words I look at: woke. That's what we need to do. That's what James is saying. We need to wake up.
Wake up.
We need to wake up here and let you people understand. We understand what's going on.
Tired of it.
We're tired of it. We're tired of it. The word critical. It's a very important word. If you take the word and put critical race awareness, they haven't done that. They haven't done that at all.
And they don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it.
Nope.
They don't. You see, Ray, this thing about critical race theory, that's the whole key. They don't want to deal with this. Because when you look at critical race theory, that's what America is. We got a problem here, Ray. I remember my mother used to say, yeah, it's a big problem. I remember my mother used to tell me, Sonny, please be careful when you're on the outside with these white cops. My mother used to tell me that, Ray, because she knew what it was too. She knew what it was. And you said something that is very important that we got to do. This thing called immunity, we got to get rid of that.
Qualified immunity is something that the Supreme Court put out, implemented.
Yeah,
In 1967, I think, 76, whatever.
That's right.
And it was just a provision or a doctrine
That's right.
that the Supreme Court came up with to give police officers
That's right.
some relief from frivolous lawsuits.
Yes.
Not caring about all the innocent people being killed or hurt by police officers.
Yeah.
But this shield, as the justice stated in the article, it shields police officers
Yes.
from accountability.
Yes, it
Right.
does.
Right.
Yes,
And if
it
they don't
does.
have any accountability, then they're free to do what they
Why
want to
would
do.
they change?
Yes.
They're free to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I will say this to the two of you. Of the 50 states, I'm going to pick one and say that the rest of the states need to model what the state of Maryland has done. The state of Maryland, they have passed a package of reforms geared toward transparency and accountability for police officers, a whole package.
Yes.
And this package has some very serious initiatives. But even as I say that, I don't think it's enough for these rogue police officers. It's significant, but I don't think it's enough.
It's not.
We have to get rid of, as I indicated, qualified immunity.
Mhm.
Now, let me go back to what I was pointing out about the state of Maryland. Let me grab this information here. No, boy, I thought I had screenshotted some information.
But you know, Ray, while you're trying to get into that,
Yeah.
what you're trying to find, and we'll go
Right.
back to what Jamie said about black cops, and this is my concern. We got to understand that the police department and the justice department is systematically racist. It's racist. I don't care how you look at it. Now, we are not saying that everybody in that organization is a racist. We're not
Correct.
saying that.
Correct. Correct.
But you working within an organization which is racist.
Right.
So therefore, when a black cop become a part of that system and you don't make an adjustment to it, I'm not saying you're racist, but you're a part of it now.
Part of it.
You're part of it. So you've got to make some changes. That's what Jamie is saying.
Right.
Well,
You're
what
just
is-
as bad.
And that's correct. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what's being suggested by the state of Maryland.
Yes.
Police officers, black, white,
Black
green, or
or-
gold,
that's
it doesn't
right.
matter.
Doesn't
If
matter.
you're a police officer in Maryland, according to their legislation, you must
Yeah,
de-escalate.
that's right.
Mhm.
You must report abuses if
That's
you
right.
witness them
Truly,
by your colleagues.
truly.
Let me read this, if you all don't mind.
No.
Maryland's police reform packages are expected to dramatically alter the way officers do their jobs and how they are disciplined. It's designed to hold law enforcement accountable and increase transparency. Viral cell phone video of police acts captured the attention of Maryland state lawmakers. As a result, Maryland's police reform package requires officers to intervene.
Mhm.
And it also is a criminal offense if the officers do not intervene.
Mhm.
So if an officer is doing something wrong and you fail as an officer to intervene, you have committed a
There
crime.
you go.
That's significant.
Love it. Love it.
That's why I said I'll pick Maryland over all the states, because they have initiated things
Right.
that have teeth.
Right. You are your
Have
brother's keeper.
teeth.
Right.
I want to read on here. So now, officers must de-escalate. They must use force only when necessary.
Yeah, I like
It's required that it be proportionate force to the threat.
Mhm.
You can't choke somebody out if all they did was call you a nasty name and spit on your
Mhm.
shoes. It has to be proportionate,
Truly.
not excessive force, not excessive force. And it also requires bystanding officers to intervene when there is something wrong, when they see excessive force, and they have to report it.
Mhm.
And these are significant. And I think they can go a long way in trying to reduce the violence and abuses, but it's not enough. Get rid of what I've said, get rid of that qualified immunity, because all that does is shield police officers with a legal doctrine from accountability. And that was something initiated by the Supreme Court. But there's more to Maryland. I just read a little tip of their information about reforms. There's a lot more, but I wanted to share that bit with you.
You know, they need to, another thing I like to see stop is like the victims shot in bed, shot in the back. They always demonize the victims on the news.
Yeah.
Social media are hand in hand with the police with this demonizing the news. They don't want to bring up rap sheets. That has nothing to do but what happened to these people? And the problem is the attitude of the racist police continue in high levels of incarceration. And this is my theory, and I've read it and I've heard it. And through my research is basically we're always already the most arrested, just minorities, period, but more so blacks. And this whole race to outdo China, what better way? Bring China here. And I say this, high levels of incarceration to feed the prison industry complex that we now have, privatized prisons. This creates cheap labor, therefore replacing the reliance on China for product manufacturing. I mean, you got it right here now. They're bringing they're bringing that cheap labor here. These guys are making furniture, shoes, clothes. They're doing quality stuff.
Well, Jamie, you're right. You're so right, because all of these African Americans and others, but all of these arrests and put into these privatized prison systems is nothing but cheap labor.
Right.
Cheap labor, which is another way of saying, okay, we're going to systemically create slavery again.
Right. That's
Systemically create slavery again.
They haven't done.
Right.
Right?
We're going to arrest as many of them as we can,
right.
That's right.
regardless of what they may or may not have done. We're going to put them in a cell and charge them and put them to work, put them to work
For nothing.
for nothing.
Build these prisons and we will build them. That's the bottom line. You build them, we will build them. And
I'm
that's what they
glad
do.
Joe's saying that.
Oh,
God,
man.
true.
Yeah.
It's
That's
true.
the truth.
Well,
Yeah.
Russ, what you got to say here?
No. I like what Jamie is saying, because what it is, if you're going to change this attitude of these policemen,
Mhm.
you got to change the policies. It's a must, Ray, that these policies be reevaluated now. For instance, I like to know, I was talking to a policeman some time ago, and I just asked him, when you guys go through training, what you talking about? And what this guy told me, he told more about self-defense, shooting, and things like that. But the thing that is missing there is idea of people. What do you think about the people that you gonna be dealing with?
Mhm.
Conflict resolution,
Mhm.
mental health problems. They don't talk that stuff, Ray.
Yeah.
They talk about self-defense and shooting.
Yeah, right. And all the perps. I've talked with some police, the cadets right here in St. Pete.
Yeah.
A majority of the perpetrators
Yeah.
are people of color.
Okay.
The majority are
That's
black.
right.
So what do you think these guys are seeing when these young
That's
white
right.
racists, not the decent people, the racists, that's the first thing they, you know what I mean? They're
That's
quick.
right.
They're quick to want to shoot.
That's right.
They don't, there is no freeze, but I feel ways of fixing this is, the police cameras we talked about,
We need them.
cultural education, which is DeSantis is trying to do away with. Like to have the neighborhood meetings and have a few police present, like try to keep continuity with the police and get some type of relationship with these young kids so they're growing up
Yes.
not fearing them, but being able to have a rapport and, you know what I mean, help the neighborhood, because it starts in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And these bastards need intense psyche valves.
Yeah.
They need to dig like they're going to work for the FBI or something. They need intense, really, they need intense psyche
I
valves.
like that.
Because a lot of them are just, it's bred to them. Not like I say, not all of them. There's a few that's making it bad for the whole force or the whole crew. But things like this, and as far as if you're caught beating someone, choking them, even if it doesn't result in death, that should be immediate termination.
That's right.
That should be jail time.
That's right.
That should be total loss of pension. I mean, all of that.
I go
You
for
shouldn't have to wait till someone's dead or shot in the back.
Truly.
It needs to be done. They need to do. People are getting tired. I'm one of them. People are getting tired of this. And you're going to go from the marching of Martin Luther King to thinking like Malcolm X. Really, there's people right here in St. Pete. They got weapons that they're tired. They're tired.
Well, and your frustration is warranted, most definitely your frustration, because we all have that frustration But we want to be careful. We don't want to say we're preaching violence.
No, we're
in
not
that
preaching
sense.
violence, but
But
it can happen.
yeah,
We're not saying we're preaching.
Nah.
Do the right thing, people, but in the corner, that's on you.
When you're in a corner.
Do what you do.
But,
but Ray, you
go
said
ahead.
something that is very important in your thing. I think the problem the big problem we have with policemen is just a lack of clear regulation. You know, you're not supposed to choke a guy.
They know that.
You
And they know that.
That's there's nowhere in your training tells you got to choke a guy. And I think that's what it is. They don't have a lack of clear regulation. What is I'm supposed to do? I don't think it's there.
Well, you might be right. You might be right. And in all seriousness, we can go on and on with this discussion, guys, but as I've said over and over, we have fun and time flies when you're having fun. That being the case, I want to thank the two of you for this discussion. I regret that we're at the point that we're near the end. We're at the point where we're near the end. So we're going to bring up maybe one or two more points, and then we're going to call it quits for today. Who would like to offer one last point?
Go ahead, Russ, you got it.
I think one of the points I want to say, and I think the reason a lot of this kind of negative thing is taken towards Black or on Black, because I want to say that racism is deeply rooted. It is systematically rooted in America. And they just don't want to deal with it, Ray. They don't want to deal with it. They're scared of it.
Let's look at this point here. The American, let's see, the Defamation League, they were able to get the membership list of the Oath Keepers. 33,000 members.
That's a lot of them.
33,000 members. And in that membership, police chiefs, police captains,
that's right,
military members, government officials, elected officials in that group.
Yeah, true.
Systematic racism.
That's what it is.
Now you got a police chief who calls himself a member of a terrorist organization. And he's supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer in your community. How in the hell are you going to respect that? And then you got elected officials. Could be a city council member, county commissioner, state legislator. You got these clowns and the Oath Keepers.
Yeah.
How are you going to respect that? Jamie?
We hear a lot of stuff about, all across the US about police places, but my ear is not to the street the way it used to be. But the people I talk with that are, our police here in St. Pete are pretty decent.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, our police here are pretty good. And my frustration is not toward where I live. It was, I speak on it.
Most
I ain't gonna
definitely.
hold my tongue. But I'm just sick of this across the nation against people of color, period. And it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And that marching needs to stop. I mean, you need to educate, but it's, I ain't gonna say too much.
I know your level of
Y'all know what I
frustration.
mean.
I know,
Yeah.
and I understand. But I'll say one last point to what you just said.
Mhm.
I interviewed Luke Williams, who was a longtime assistant chief of police in St. Pete. When I was doing the Urban League radio program,
Mhm.
this guy is amazing. He's very respectful of people. He will never abuse anybody. And if someone under his leadership abuses someone, they're going to be held accountable.
Right.
Luke Williams. I interviewed Sergeant Michael Hawkins.
Yeah, good man.
Good man, very respectful. Mike Hawkins said every day before he leaves his home, he prays. He prays. He prays that he's going to get back home, but he also prays that he's going to do the right thing out in the streets, be respectful. But once again, fellas, the time is here to say we're going to have to call it quits for this particular episode. And I really appreciate all the discussions that we have, this one in particular. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Jamie Wilson III, Russell Cato. And I ask all of you, our listeners, to tune in each and every Tuesday, 5:30, 99.1 FM, The Bird. Also, go to YouTube, type in the Ray Tampa podcast. You can see them all. And lastly, check out the Weekly Challenger. We have articles in the Weekly Challenger in terms of our podcasts.
Okay.
So you can get it in the Challenger, YouTube, 99.1 FM, The Bird, or talk to us and we'll let you know.
And sponsors are welcome.
All right, let them know. Sponsors are welcome. Good evening. Thank you.